Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, January 21st. A lot to discuss. We had two unconfirmed Google algorithm updates in the past week or so since the last video. Google told us a little bit more about how they may or may not deduplicate top stories from the web search results. We saw a lot of crawling spikes. They are unrelated to any algorithm updates. Google came out with a new Search Console desktop page experience report and so much more. Also excited to let you know that Bruce Clay is going to be sponsoring one video per month. So that includes starting, I think, the first of every Friday, Bruce Clay, Duda, and SEMrush. So thanks to all our sponsors. I do have one more video. If you guys want to sponsor, definitely reach out to me at rustybrick.com/Barry. All right, let's get into the news. First up, like I said, Google search ranking update, one that happened on January 14th and 15th, which was like Friday and on Saturday, as well as it seemed to actually spike up again on Monday, so this past Monday, and we have lots of different charts and chatter around that. And then we saw another Google update on the 19th and the 20th, so Wednesday and Thursday. I think it slightly started to die down. Let me just quickly check at least one report. But yeah, it seems like it started to die down today, Friday. So we seem to have like a weekend update trailing into Monday, and then a pause for a couple days, and then Wednesday and Thursday another update. A lot more chatter on the middle of the week update than we saw on the weekend. So keep that in mind. If you saw any fluctuations or ranking changes on the 14th, 15th, I think 17th, also on the 19th and 20th, you're not alone. There were other people who saw it as well. Google's John Mueller and Danny Sullivan said they do not push updates out right before the weekend. They're engineers, they're humans. They also want to have a nice weekend. They don't want to go out and push something that might, explode over the weekend. And John Mueller said, certainly nobody here wants to launch and run to fix an update over the weekend. Danny Sullivan said it's fairly unusual in my experience that rollouts happen outside of work hours. So the theory that, I don't know where the theory came from, that Google does push out the updates that only roll out on weekends is kind of crazy. Of course, when Google does push out updates, it might push out an update on Thursday, Wednesday, or whatever. It takes time for that update to fully roll out. Every URL has to be reprocessed in most cases. So you may see the update, the impact of the update, more so on a weekend than you do on a weekday, but it depends on the update, when it was pushed out, how it works, and so forth. Google has reiterated again, this is like the third or fourth time, maybe more, that if you see a spike in your crawl rate, that doesn't mean a Google update's coming. Actually, they're completely unrelated. John Mueller said it numerous times in the history of us covering Google updates. There is a big theory, it's a myth, that, I see a spike in crawling activity on my website, that means a Google update is going to happen. No, that is not the case according to Google. Google said that numerous times, and Google said, again, it's unrelated. There's always something launching, he said, but just because there's always something launching doesn't mean that if you see a crawl rate, it's related to that. John Mueller said it again, and he said, if you want to launch an update, you have to test it, you have to prove that it's good first. You can't do that if you have to recrawl the whole web before going live. Obviously, the web is gigantic, he said. You can't just do a recrawl it briefly, type of the command, and get all the recrawl stuff. And he said, again, crawl rate is not an early warning signal of updates. So this, again, just saying it again, hopefully people will hear that. And like I said, a lot of people saw crawl spikes, weird ones for some sites. I saw it for maybe 10% of the sites in my profiles where there was a huge jump in the crawl activity on some websites. We're not sure why. It may have been a bug. We don't know. We were asking Google. But it seemed like whatever that crawl activity that started up around on, I think like January 12th, January 13th, has significantly died down this morning. So maybe it's fixed. Maybe it was just Google had to crawl certain sites again. I'm not sure. We'll get into that later. Also, on the topic of crawling, there was a Search Off the Record podcast. Love it. Keep it going. Gary and John and Martin. And Gary spoke about how Google wants to make crawling more efficient and environmentally friendly. But he said probably not using index now. He said maybe we're looking into using index now, but we probably won't use that the way you think we might use it. Google said, and Gary said, we're probably looking more into the refresh recall. So there's discover recalls and refresh recalls. Discover is finding new stuff they haven't found yet, crawling new content, new URLs, and refresh is basically updating, recrawling URLs they already have to see if those URLs are updated. Obviously, the homepage of new sites get recrawled and refreshed often, but some stale pages, like an About Us page that rarely gets updated, may get recrawled refresh off very few times. Now, Google's going to look at making that more efficient, he said. Very interesting conversation. Definitely take a look at that. Also, Danny Sullivan at Google went on this whole long tangent about The Verge was complaining that their story wasn't ranking #1 in the Google search results, or there's a bunch of copycats. And Danny Sullivan looked into it, and then I saw him a whole conversation about how Google might deduplicate, like they do with the feature snippets. If there's a top story link in the article, Google might deduplicate it from the web search results. So I went back and forth, I covered it, and then Danny said like I was wrong. Here's what happens. Here's what Danny Sullivan said. He said, we deduplicate a link from the web results if a link appears as the first link in top stories and if the top stories box appears before the web results. If it comes after, we don't. And again, Google may go ahead and review this and update this going forward, but that's how it works. First top stories box, first link, it won't show up in the web results currently. If it's the second link or the top stories box is later in the results, then Google will not dedupe the web story, the top stories link from the web search results. Pretty interesting. Google Search Console has come out with a new page experience report. This is for the desktop page experience algorithm, which is going to be launching sometime in the next few weeks or so. So Google came out with a report. If you want to see how well your desktop pages are ranking in the page experience report, not ranking, but like scoring in the page experience report, definitely take a look at that report. It's in Google Search Console. You can access it today. Google said, John Mueller said in a video, basically, Google does not understand. Completely, it's impossible for Google to understand, he said, if content between this URL and that URL are equivalent if they're different languages. So if you have hreflang on your site, and you have an English version of page A, and then you have a French version of page A as well, and the only thing that differentiates the two is the language, and you have hreflang, Google's not able to say, oh, just because there's hreflang, they're equivalent. Google can't use other technology to say, this English page is exactly the same thing as this French page, but they're only translated differently. You think they'd be able to with Google Translate or MUM technology, as Glenn Gabe said, but no. John Mueller said no. But he also said that Google's getting better at understanding languages and locations, even if there is no hreflang on that page. He said that anecdotally, he's been seeing that even site pages that don't have hreflang that are translated Google's able to handle that better without using hreflang. Google's John Mueller also spoke about product reviews update. He basically said 3 things. Let me get to it fast. Google will expand that to other languages and other regions. Google may be using machine learning for that. He's not sure. He suspects they are. We don't know. And 3, maybe in the future, it will be incorporated, maybe possibly, into Google Core updates. Like the Google Panda update is part of the Google Core updates now. Maybe this will be incorporated into the Core updates going forward. I kind of suspect, last week we spoke about fluff content, how I hate fluff content, just get to the point, respect your reader's time and recipes, and all this content has so much fluff around it, and people just write, because Google wants to rank the stuff that's fluffy. And it looks like John Mueller again spoke about fluff content, and I suspect maybe, just maybe, Google might go ahead and say, you know what, fluff content maybe shouldn't be ranking so high in our search results. We'll see. He went off a little bit again about it a second time in a Google Webmaster Hangout. John Mueller also released a video, a 2-minute Google Ask Googlebot video about site migrations. Really a nice video. You should take a look at it. Of course, it's a lot more than 2 minutes in general. If you want to do it right, you need to really do the research and do the work. Google's John Mueller basically said that if you're a hosting company, stop serving up robot detection interstitials without serving a 500 status code with a no index. Make sure that you are serving the proper 500 service status code. Do not serve up the wrong status code for those robot detection interstitials, because it will result in those pages dropping out that are behind that interstitial, and you don't want that. I think certain sites were doing that. I don't want to call out any specific sites, hosting companies, but there's certain hosting companies that were recently doing that, causing issues. Google has updated its recipe schema markup documents and guidelines, saying it no longer supports time ranges. So you can't say it takes about, keep it in the oven from 2 to 5 minutes, or 12 to 15 minutes based on your taste to see how well it cooks. You have to say keep in the oven for 15 minutes or 14 minutes. You can't give a time range for the cook, prep, and total time fields. Google said it might go ahead and even update the Google Webmaster Guidelines in 2022. It might even rename the guidelines from Google Webmaster Guidelines to maybe something else, like Google Search Central Guidelines or something else. So definitely take a look at that. That was brought up on the Search Off the Record podcast, that Google will be doing updates most likely be doing updates to the Webmaster Guidelines. They call them a little bit out of date. They need refresh, and they're a little bit confusing, according to Gary and friends. ad liaison, Ginny Marvin, said that Target CPA is not going away in 2022. There were some rumors that Google will be getting CPA as a method for bidding, and Ginny said, no, it's not going away in 2022. Will it go away in 2023? Maybe. A lot of people think so. Google also this morning confirmed there's a bug with the Google Ads Discovery and Performance Max campaigns. I'm not sure what it is. It's impacting a significant subset of users as of 11 p.m. last night. So Thursday, January 20th at around 11 p.m. I'm not sure what the issue is. Google didn't say, but there is an issue. In other news around that, Performance Max campaigns have new placement reports, so you can check impressions and so forth based on placement. So it's pretty cool. Check that out. Google Maps is testing showing review snippets in the map interface. Here's a screenshot of it. I think it's the most, I don't know. It's just not good. It just really clutters up the interface. Google is also showing location search packs. They've been doing this for a while, but it's cool. They have like things to do in the area based on a location, airports, transit stops, and other things as well. So here's a GIF of that. Big news this week in the search community is that Danny Goodwin, who was in the industry, who has been in the industry since 2007, he was writing at Search Engine Watch for a while. Then he joined Search Engine Journal, and now he left Search Engine Journal, and now he's at Search Engine Land working with me at that company. So I'm really excited to be working with him. It's great. Danny Goodwin's a good person. Looking forward to working with him. A lot of reactions to that in the community. I included a post there as well. And this is hilarious. Did you know that there's a federal vampire and zombie agency, and they have a website, and they've been in an organization since the 1800s? Well, their website has disappeared from Google. It's like, I don't know, just disappeared mysteriously. No, it's funny. There's a Reddit thread about this. How else do you find these things about vampires and zombies? There's a Reddit thread complaining that the website is no longer in Google search. Gary from Google actually responded to that saying, well, Google can't access the website. I can't personally access the website either. Maybe it's blocking zombies, Google bots, I don't know. But it looks like Bing has it in their index. In any event, I thought that was pretty funny. And you never know what you find on the web. In any event, thank you so much for listening to the SearchBoz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. A little tidbit this week, or a little bit of news. I'll be off on vacation this week with the family. First time going on a plane in about 2 years. XMX West January 2019 or February 2019 was the last time I was on a plane. So bringing the whole family to Florida. Infection rates seem to be drastically declining, so hopefully everything will be safe. I'm a little bit paranoid about the whole thing, although I'm really great about sitting at my desk and writing all day and talking to you guys. Any event, so I will be back Friday. Hopefully the video will be on target, and everyone have a great weekend. Be safe. Enjoy the week, and I will have stories published throughout the week. I'll just wake up earlier and handle it all. In any event, thank you so much for listening to the SearchBoz video recap. If you like this video, subscribe, comment, hit the like button, and definitely tell your friends to subscribe. Appreciate it. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can actually download it now. It's available. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Speak to you guys later. Bye-bye.